Hello people, in this episode of Skyrim Mods and more we are going to take a look at some more of the greatest mods and mod collections that have been released recently. Even if you are actively following the modding world, there might be some mods you have missed, or some might have been updated recently, so let's make sure we get them all.
I've got to get them, Skyrim Mods!
Yeah, sorry about that, I just wanted to try out something new, for fun. And by the way, are you interested in VR gaming? Then you should definitely take a look at the DPVR headset. It's a really decent budget VR system that can do pretty much everything slightly more expensive ones can. We did an elaborate unboxing video and also tried it out with some games. Definitely going to try out some Skyrim VR in the future as well. Follow the links in the description for more info and don't forget to use the coupon code Ikari to get an awesome $90 discount if you decide to buy one of those. So anyway, mods. The first one is NPC AI Processing Fix NG, a mod about the proper NPC positioning when you use the wait function. We already took a look at the original position fix mod in the past, and this NG variation is the updated version. It's basically a means to fix one of the oldest engine limitations, where if you wait or sleep and advance time forward, the NPCs will stay where they are and then walk to where they are supposed to be by that time. And with this mod, they will actually instantly spawn at the proper location. Next we have some even more technical mods, like the Recursion Monitor. This is a tool to monitor your papyrus scripts and detect broken and stuck ones, and that way prevent and reduce frame rate lags and increase performance. Basically, if a papyrus script gets stuck, the game will try to run it again and again, and if this happens thousands and hundreds thousands of times, your machine will obviously lose some of its processing power on it. So this recursion monitor shuts down such broken scripts after a certain amount of loops. And another nifty tool you want to get is the Vanilla Script Enhancements mod, another mod to increase performance. This one though is only meant for heavily modded games with thousands of mods, so if you really only have a handful of mods you will probably not need that. Some mods function by distributing invisible cloaks to NPCs to enable their scripts that way, and if the amount of those cloaks is very high, they can overburden the engine and cause script lag and stuttering. And this mod is supposed to fix this problem by using so-called PO3 events, which, unlike the vanilla ones, only activate when they are really required. I will not pretend that I fully understand what I am talking about, but if they say it works, then it probably does. But okay, enough with the technical stuff. Next we have some mods that are really easy to understand. Visual mods. We have Northern Roads, for example. It's a slightly bigger mod that adds a lot of beautiful new assets to the roads. It's one of those mods that improved the roads by adding small, seamless decorative aspects alongside of them, like wooden carved sculptures, flag posts, but also some bigger things like bridges and so on. Honestly, there are so many mods of that kind and it's really hard to decide which ones to get. I just installed this one off top of the stuff I already had, so you can see sometimes structures clip a little bit, but most of the time this mod just overrode, like the bridges for example. And yes, all those new assets look great of course and add a lot of fun to just walking around the roads from place to place and taking in the scenery. Then we have some really tasty snowberries, another mod from the Cathedral series, and I think those snowberries look even better than the ones I had before, the sufficiently optimized snowberries. They are also 3D, but those here look a tad more realistic. I really like the snow shaders on the berries themselves. They are also supposed to be more performance friendly, which is always a plus, of course. It is also absolutely recommended to take a look at the other Cathedral mods as well, because they are all of outstanding quality and I have not shown all of them in my reviews. This is exactly the kind of stuff you need if you want to select specific smaller mods to swap out specific single models with visuals you might prefer. There are a lot of different single plant replacers here, for example, but also some other stuff like weather-related mods, so it is definitely worth checking out. And then we also have some tasty new potions. I don't know, do potions taste good? It's actually like medicine, so that means they are supposed to taste awful. But the models are very tasty looking indeed. So this potion replacer by ElSopa is not as crazy as the awesome potions replacer I have been using until now, which had some really crazy designs and animations. Those models here are more down to earth and not too exaggerated. There are also some subtle, barely noticeable animations on some of those, and the ENB lights option is also very subtle. But the models are definitely very cool and fit into Skyrim very well. ElSopa is generally one of those modders you definitely need to take a closer look at, because here too we have a lot of high quality mods, 112 for SE, and I sure have not reviewed all of them. It's also mostly some retextured or completely reworked models to replace stuff, but also some funny meme things, like the Clavicus Pepe mask. Clavicus freaking Pepe! What the hell? What the hell? Seriously, I need to get this one later. Okay, there is actually a lot of funny stuff here, but also the serious stuff, and the serious stuff is of course of high quality, and some of the best stuff you can get. Then there are also some really cool new cages by johnskyrim, new models for all the cages in the game, all 3 of them. Yes, there are actually only 3 different cage models in this game. Very nice models though, with reworked realistic looking locks. johnskyrim is also another one of the very big names in Skyrim modding, so here too we really need to take a closer look at the profile page. I mean, I have reviewed most of their mods, but by far not all. Mostly it's super high quality model replacers, really some of the best ones you will ever find for Skyrim. But here too there is some funny stuff included, like what the hell are ramped rags? Rags with the option of fixing and stripping. How do people even come up with this stuff? I don't think any other game in existence has something like this. I mean, I could totally expect this from Bethesda in form of a bug where they claim it's a feature, you know the drill. Another great mod to improve the visuals is Ryn's standing stones. Despite the name, this mod does not do anything with the actual stones, but rather changes the surroundings. It's basically a complete overhaul of the environments of the standing stones to make them more interesting and visually stunning, like the places of power they are supposed to be. That also, however, means that they draw attention from other people and creatures as well, and might not be always safe to approach. Makes perfect sense and adds a nice bit of realism to the whole thing. It is also quite an interesting modder in general. They have this very ambitious projects in mind, where they plan to completely transform and improve all the exterior locations and the dungeons of Skyrim, adding new assets, making them visually more interesting and impressive, also making the dungeons bigger and harder, with new and also harder boss-type enemies. So really a massive project indeed. Many locations have already received this treatment, and the Standing Stones mod is the first all-in-one package. So in the future we can expect many more of those. So there is definitely a lot to look forward to. Obviously such a big project will have a huge challenge compatibility-wise with other mods. This is also why there is already a patch hub mod where you can find a collection of patches for Ryn2g Mods. This will of course get a lot of updates in the future too, as the project grows. So it definitely is interesting to see how it all develops. Next we have a very huge animation mod, Comprehensive First-Person Animation Overhaul. This mod is a complete overhaul for first-person animations, including quite literally thousands of animations. I mean, I have not proof counted them, but considering what this mod has to offer, it seems to be accurate. This mod does replace pretty much every single first-person animation. Weapon drawing, weapon sheathing, obviously things like idle animations, blocking and swinging the weapon, but also things like turning, walking, running, jumping and so on. Also hand-to-hand combat with different options for punches. For races with claws there are also special animations with several options too. And for weapons like swords, daggers, maces and axes, unlike vanilla where it's the same thing for all of those, with this mod there are individual animations for each of those weapon types. And there are also different animations to choose from, for example for daggers, meaning normal grip or reverse grip, and all the magic animations too, of course. There is just so much stuff. In other words, definitely the biggest and most complete overhaul of first-person combat. This mod is a bit tricky to install though, it does not seem to play well with Vortex, and also some people reported problems with Mod Organizer too, so manual installation is actually recommended here. I personally installed it with the Nexus Mod Manager, yes I know, old school. And I have the same problem as many other people reported, where not all the animations showed up. I got most of the animations working, but some things, especially the weapon swings, still kinda look different as in the preview videos on the mod page. I also tried uninstalling Improved Camera SE, since this mod is reported to have problems with camera mods, but nothing changed. I suspect that either CGO or MCO is the culprit here. I mean, because of MCO I don't even have normal power attacks. But one way or another, this does not change the fact that this is the best first-person animation mod ever made. So you definitely want that. The next big mod is also an overhaul, but for the crafting menus. It's called Constructible Object Custom Keyword System, and is actually an add-on for Sky UI. It completely changes the interface of most of the crafting stations by adding a lot of subcategories and making the whole thing way more manageable. It is pretty great actually. The only thing about this mod, also something that made me really sad at first, is that this only functions with the newer versions of Skyrim, starting with 1.6.353. So in other words, people who prefer to roll in SE are kinda locked out. In addition to that, there is even a moderator note warning us that we all will be crucified if we should dare to address this matter in any way. I just have to ask, what is this, Nazi Germany? Well, in that case I have to say, warum hat man mir das nicht gleich gesagt? So I was about to try this with my AE installation, but then I found this patch mod which makes this work with SE after all, so never fucking mind, I guess. If anything, I think this should be linked to the main mod page instead of this Stasi BS, but what do I know, I'm just this idiot YouTuber without any talent or charisma who nobody likes, so it doesn't matter what I say anyway. Another nice quality of life mod is Read or Take SKSE, a mod that gives you the choice whether you want to read the books you find or put them in your inventory right away. You can switch between those two options with a hotkey. This is especially useful if you find a book you already read. In that case, the menu will also display the Take option first, as the default option. This mod is obviously also useful for spell books. Here the default option is to instantly learn the spell you don't know yet. Although you have to be a bit careful with that, as this is obviously the same as stealing an owned spellbook, since learning the spells consumes the book in this game. I always thought that this is a funny game mechanic. It's like you actually eat the spellbook to acquire its knowledge. This sounds like some Simpsons stuff right there. Spellbooks. Next we have some more visual improvements. Soft Shadows, for example, is a mod that gives the shadows a very realistic feel based on the weather type they are cast in. Unlike in sunny weather, where the shadows are clear and sharp, in foggy, overcast weathers the shadows will be really diffused and soft looking. You can see the difference very well by switching between those weather types. This definitely adds a lot of realism to the weather system. It looks so natural that it's hard to believe it was not the case all along. Hail to modding for such epic visual immersiveness. And speaking of shadows, next it's going to be a bit technical again with Shadow Boost. Similar to its namesake for Fallout 4, a mod designed to dynamically adjust shadows and view distance for some objects. The menu for this feature is in the Shader Parameters tab of the ENV menu. You have to hit the Load Configuration button for it to show up. Here you can set up the target FPS and also tweak some other features. The disappearing of the distant shadows is more smooth here and not as instant as in the Fallout version, but the function is more or less the same. Playing around with the different settings should give you enough room to properly stabilize your FPS. There are two more features that really deserve our attention though: NVIDIA Reflex support and upscaling. It's similar to what has been going on with Starfield modding too. Finally, Skyrim also gets some of that modern gaming support features. So the NVIDIA Reflex support mod will also give you one of those new menus in the Shader Parameters tab of the ENV menu. Once again, hit the Load Configuration button for it to show up, and here you can activate the NVIDIA Reflex options. This feature is supported by GeForce GTX 900 and above graphic cards, and basically it optimizes your GPU latency and can also improve performance in some instances. This feature might actually slightly reduce your peak FPS, but for that improve the responsiveness of the game, and the FPS should also generally be more stable. And another very important feature is the Skyrim Upscaler. Well, this feature really needs no introduction. Just like all the other games, Skyrim gets upscaling support through DLSS and other similar methods for different graphic cards brands. This mod adds a new menu where you can select the different upscaling methods. Of course, we need to turn off the anti-aliasing feature of the ENB off, since the upscaler does pretty much the same. And as you can see, the difference is clear as day. Well, maybe not so much on YouTube, I just hope their shitty codecs won't butcher the quality too much. NVIDIA RTX cards are obviously the ones that profit the most of this with the frame generation feature, which as we know can pretty much double your FPS, but there is a tiny problem. And when I say tiny, I mean the size of fucking Pluto! Because unfortunately the DLSS feature does not work with ENBs. So if you use an ENB, like me, I mean who doesn't, basically this goes for everyone. We can only run the DLAA feature for now. The creator of those upscaler mods is of course working together with the creator of ENB, Boris, to make this work with ENB, and you can actually already download and use one of the test builds. But, yes, here comes another big but. Those test builds are only available on Patreon now, and hidden behind a very serious paywall. So for now, not available for everyone. So in other words, crosses. Much crosses. But whatever, back to the mods that are available for everyone. Wade in Water Redone, an updated and reworked version of the original Wade in Water mod. This time it operates on engine level instead of distribution of spells. And what it does is, your character will be extremely immersively slowed down when you walk through water. Yes, this is super realistic stuff right there, without question. The transition between speed states is really smooth and tasty. You can still try to sprint in water, and will be slowed too of course, but it can look a bit weird depending on what animations you have. So to fix that, you could also try downloading the Wade in Water animations from the EVG Conditional Idles mod. Anyway, really dope update, isn't it? What do you think? And another updated watery mod is GKB Waves Reborn. The original GKB Waves is pretty great of course, but unfortunately it does not cover all the shores in Skyrim. And this is why this Reborn mod was created. Now there shall be immersive beautiful waves almost everywhere. Almost because in lakes there will be no waves, obviously. But the shoreline now has waves pretty much everywhere. Even in the Solstheim region, the vanilla waves have been reworked to look in that awesome new way. Okay, now pay attention. Next we have a very special mod for all the pervs out there. Take a peek. Yes, for all the peeping toms of you, now you can spy what the NPCs are doing behind locked doors. Yeah, I bet Lover's Lab already has some special features for this one in stock. But no, of course not. Of course it's merely to give you the means of scouting ahead and give you the tactical advantage. Nothing more, nothing less. So how does it work? What if behind the door is another cell? How do we look into that? The newest version 1.2 works with the dynamic activation key. Shift by default changes the open to peek option. You have to actually hold down the shift key, it's a bit weird. So basically it's kind of a trick. In reality your character spawns inside the new cell, but completely invisible and with this overlay. So it looks like you are looking through a keyhole. And the fact that my character actually opened the door, that should not happen. And after exiting the peeping animation I also spawned inside the cell. It only works correctly for me with locked doors. There I spawned on the correct side after exiting the peeping mode, and then the lockpicking animation started. This is actually a bug that started to happen in version 1.2. The author says it's a mod conflict, but I'm not sure because really many people have this problem. Before that it worked fine. The previous version of this mod does not have the dynamic key activation though, instead you have to hold the sneak button for 2 seconds. But if you also get this bug, you should go for the older version. Also NPCs are supposed to comment things like "What's all this then?" if they catch you peeping, but nobody caught me yet. The elusive peeper remains at large. Stay vigilant. Okay, next it's going to be very interesting too, because it is time to talk. Dragonborn voiceover. That's right, we shall give the Dragonborn, or whoever you play as, the player character, a voice. Kinda like in Fallout 4. So let me just free up my articulation organ real quick. There we go, that's much better. So how does this work? Obviously you need a voice pack first, then you have to activate it in the MTM menu. Theoretically you can make one yourself, but there are also a lot of pre-generated ones on the Nexus, so you can choose one of those. At first I thought about becoming Elkate, the British Dragonborn, and doing some stabby knifey action, but then I saw the glorious Dagoth ore is available, so obviously I had to pick this one. It's time to show those lizards who's boss.
How can you protect Whiterun from the dragons?
With good planning and constant vigilance.
Loud and confident voice, as expected. With this, every line delivered sounds like a statement.
Are you the only wizard in Whiterun?
I believe I am, yes. Technically speaking, of course.
I mean, it's great and all, but somehow I miss the option to enslave Argonians and make remarks about other, inferior races.
Do I look like a courier to you?
Ah, now that's more like it. How dares this meat-brain Nord imply the mighty Dagoth ore is fit to do some simple deliveries. So of course it's all just vanilla lines, but technically if you make your own voice pack, you can make him say whatever you want in those situations. It's of course also possible to make patches for all the big mods out there, like Vigilant or Grimstooth. It is definitely a cool idea, since it opens up a lot of new possibilities. I think however the majority of players probably prefer a voiceless protagonist, or what would you say? Alright, next we are going to take a look at some really tasty armor mods, or more like mod packages. First, the Sons of Skyrim armor pack, a big bunch of lore-friendly, high-quality armors, mostly guard armors. Now, in case it sounds a bit underwhelming, those are of course not just guard armors, but guard armors of very high quality with a very beautiful and fitting design. Seriously, looking at this, it's insane how well they represent the individual hold styles. This is just so much better than what Bethesda gave us, and probably also better than what other mods have done with the guard armors so far. There are also different variations like light and heavy armors, there are cloaks, lots of helmet options, and there is also a huge amount of Stormcloak themed armors in this pack too. Now before we have any Imperials versus Stormcloak debates breaking out again, there are no Imperial armors in this pack, probably because this modder already released a lot of Imperial themed armors in the past. But anyway, this is not all. There are of course also some beautiful shields for every hold too, and what's more important, a lot of hold and Stormcloak themed weapons included in this pack. So without a question, a fantastic package. Now, you will probably call me crazy, but what if I told you it can get even better? Yes, there is another super huge and awesome armor pack, Armors of the Velothi, or however you pronounce it. This one is so huge that it had to be divided into two parts. So here we have a bunch of very high quality Morrowind themed armors. Basically everything said for the previous mod can be said here too. Beautiful, high quality, lore friendly armors, but of a very interesting fashion. Yo, check me out, I'm Hokage now! No, seriously, this helmet, I'm not a weeb! Ah! But seriously, some of the armors already have integrated SMP physics. There are also a lot of different helmet options and so on. It does not get better than this. Well, actually it does. The second part has even cooler armors. There are really some crazy designs in here, and by crazy I mean super freaking awesome, of course.
Of course they are. Would you expect anything less from the Six Houses and the Tribe Unmourned?
Wait, who said that?
It is I, Dagoth. What, did you think you could just steal my godly voice and put it into some wood-brain Nord body without consequences? And of course our fashion and style is vastly superior to you inferior races, running around with animal pelts and crude iron.
Yeah, I guess this is one way to put it. Anyway, the Part 2 pack is even more awesome, because it does not only have physics, but some armors even got ENB lights integrated into them. Also, there are some fitting shields and weapons this time. As I said, this is definitely highest quality modding. There is actually only one thing about this mod that kinda sucks, and that is, well, see for yourself. So if you have not figured out why this mod is kinda bad, well, it's because it's the last one for this episode. That's right, the links to all mods are as always in the description below. Don't forget to endorse the mods you like. Don't forget to hit the like button on your way out and subscribe for more awesome mods. I thank you all for watching and see you around.